Yeah, there we go. All right, now we're on and live and ready to start a presentation that is all about using educational educational training in order to be a part of and to work from the inside out with the chamber. Now, there's something I want to share this my screen right now, and I want to start out by discussing something I find is important because I think we're losing track of a few things here as we move forward with our program, and mainly I think we're losing track of the fact that we aren't quite making clear what the advantage of working with the chamber is. I had one of our members mention that to me last week, and he says, I think some of the folks just don't realize the power behind it. And so let's just for a minute, let's talk about chambers. Uh, Chambers are a unique group. They have multiple business people involved. Those business people are there for a variety of reasons, not just to socialize and so forth. They're there to be part of the community. They're there to grow their business. They're there to meet other people in the community and hopefully do business with them. Uh, they're there for politics sometimes. People that want to be known in the community in a political way. Uh, they're there for many different reasons, but it all boils down to one thing. The Chamber of Commerce is there to build the community and the businesses in that community. Now, some of the chambers are different from the others. There's no one chamber alike. It just doesn't exist. Everyone has a different president. They set their own direction. They set their own mood. They have their own ideas about how it ought to be run. And with all that being said, then you have to deal with that as you approach them in your area. You'll learn soon enough what type of person is heading up your chamber, and along with that, what they want to accomplish with their chamber. And it doesn't take long once you're talking to them to figure that out. But why in the world do we even think about being part of the Chamber of Commerce? Why is it important? It's kind of like it's kind of like it's which comes first, your sales, your influence, your visibility. It's important because of one major thing, and that is it opens the door to the entire business community to you. If you handle it correctly, and if you'll just log on and think about the things that we're training in this particular group, that door will open to you in a way that you've never seen before. You'll have people that are actually coming to you for business as opposed to you chasing them. Why does that happen? Because you become visible, you become known, you become a part of the area, you become part of the community, part of the chamber in so many ways that people know who you are, what you do, and how you might be able to help them if they run into a certain situation. So, why the chamber? Very simple. It opens the door to a vast area that you would never be able to touch in any other way. You want to spend money on Facebook ads? You want to spend money on Google ads and AdWords? You want to spend money in any social media? Do you want to send out ads in newspaper? You want to put out flyers? You can do all that, but guess what? You're going to make a whole lot more impact by being a part of this community and getting to know the people who are influencers and becoming an influencer yourself. That's what this whole program is about. That's what local chamber influences is about. So I wanted to cover that because sometimes we lose focus on why we're doing what we're doing. So the question is very obvious here in some ways that there is so many people. How many digital marketing programs have you bought and never used? And I've heard from various people. In fact, we got a couple here on the meeting today that I know have spent tens of thousands of dollars on programs that they do nothing but collect dust on their systems. And their marketing programs that teach you how to prospect, marketing programs that teach you how to use Facebook, their marketing programs that teach you how to become an agency. There are all kinds of programs. But I can guarantee you that anybody that's watching this video right now and is part of digital marketing has at least a dozen, if not more, programs that they have bought anywhere from $47 to $497 or more that they have never actually used. They may have opened them up and looked at them and said, oh, this is cool. I think I can do this, and never touched it again. Well, I don't want to see you do that with the local chamber influencers group. I want to see you use these particular ideas to actually progress your business. And by the way, these aren't going to sit on your hard drive, and they're not costing you anything. And maybe that's the reason that sometimes people say, well, it must not be too important, it's free. Well, guess what? Some of the best things in life are free. You just have to open your eyes, open your ears, open your mind, and follow those who have been successful ahead of you. I think it's always true that you follow success, you will be successful. And this is what this is about. So I guess probably I'm kind of on a soapbox right now, and that's okay. You know, I'll do that from time to time. But I don't want the local chamber influencers just to be another program sitting on your hard drive and not being used. I want it to come into your real world of growing your agency. And we talked about this. Our very first one was about getting involved with the chamber through socializing in the ribbon cutting. So everybody says, well, so why should I do a ribbon cutting? Well, very simple. Guess what? You meet all these people. And guess what? After it gets toward the end, if you watch video training number 1, you stick around and you get to know the person, and you simply ask him about his business and then suggest that you might be able to help him, and would he like to meet with you? That is so easy. It's like falling off a log. Would you rather send out emails? Would you like to do cold emails? Would you like to send out Facebook ads that you're paying, $10 a day for, $200 a month for? Or would you rather walk in and get an actual appointment from a person in your community that knows you and knows, that at least has confidence in you, because you have the credibility of the Chamber of Commerce? Now, and same thing goes in week number 2, I guess it was. We talked about newsletters, how you can use the newsletters to advance your notoriety and your influence in the community. And I won't go into a lot of detail here, except to say that if you were to offer to do, and this is the point of the training that we used, if you were able to do a video for the newsletter on upcoming events and actually do it with the chairperson that's running that event, then you've accomplished several things. One, you've accomplished the fact that you're helping the chamber increase possibly the viewership of their newsletter. Number 2, you are talking directly to an influencer because they're a committee chairman, and you're there videotaping them and chatting with them at their place of business. Now, what does that mean? That means they now know you. They know your business. They know you're working and helping the chamber. And of course, if something comes up and someone says, by the way, I need somebody to do social media, I need somebody to do a website, they're going to say, well, I know a person that does that. And you're going to be top of mind, because what did you do for them? You made them look good on video, and you put it on the chamber newsletter. Now, how much easier can that get? How much time does that take? If you think you can just sit in your office and send out emails, and sit in your office and just tag people on Facebook and send them over to your Facebook, you're sadly mistaken. Not in local business. Local agencies do not work that way, guys. If you want to work nationally, yeah, that's some things that, if you'd like to know some of the national work, I'd be happy to share it with you, because I'm doing plenty of it right now. But it does not work locally. And so get out there, get visible, show yourself, go to the meetings, find a way to connect with the chamber. And today I'm going to tell you how to connect with the chamber in one of the best ways possible. Now, the things that we're going to talk about now is how to use educational seminars to grow your business and your influence. Now, what educational seminars? Well, that's getting people together and having a guest speaker and talking about topics that are of interest to the local retail, wholesale, service businesses in the area. And it teaches them about a number of things. We have a guest speaker to these, and we'll talk about here in just a minute more. You have a guest speaker to these things. These are people who know their business. These are also influencers that are going to be speaking. And almost always you want them to be a member of that chamber that's doing the guest speaking, unless you get a really outstanding, let's say, notoriety type person from the general area that people will all know and just go, yeah, wow, I'd love to hear him talk. And that's great. So you've got some things to do with an educational seminar for your chamber, but you've got to go and research your local chamber. Do they have a regular training program set up to help their members? They may not. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw something out here to someone that's on the site right now, and I'm going to ask actually Scott Powell. Scott, how many chambers have you seen that actually have a training program for their members?
To be perfectly honest with you, Christopher, I don't think any.
Okay, and Rick, how about you, buddy?
Same. All of the chambers that I'm engaged in or had conversation with, none of them have any training program whatsoever.
So we're an area that we can actually be of service to the chamber. Would I be correct in saying that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's as we move forward here, what we're saying is you have a chance to stand out from the crowd. You have an opportunity to show your expertise and show your moxie, so to speak, as far as putting programs together. Now, they may already have a program in place. You know, they've got members coming in and going through some training courses and so forth. And yes, that could be. As you just heard, people that are actually deeply involved in chambers of commerce and had contacted many of them, and they look at several of them throughout the country, haven't found many, if any, that have training programs. So, boy, the door is wide open. You know, remember that door at the first? That door being open to you? This is an open door for you to come in. I've heard a lot of people say, well, I'm going to give a meetup, or I'm going to do a lunch and learn or something like that. Absolutely crazy. Come on. If you were to be in control of an entire seminar series that ran a year or more with the chamber, then you are the expert. You have control of that situation. So if they do have an educational program, which we can assume that some of them do, then you're going to go find out who the chairman of the committee that plans the trainings, find out who he is, and get up with him, start talking to him. And you want to find out, you know, and volunteer. You want to volunteer for the committee. You want to get involved with that particular program. And you can become active in helping set the guest speakers for the training. You can volunteer your services to do a number of things. You can offer to get the local fast food, if they're not already doing it, to offer snacks for the meeting. Now, in my case, when I set up our training seminar, we set up our meetings from 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning once a month. Why? Because that gave everybody a chance to come in, watch, and then get back to work before 9 o'clock. And when they came in the door, they had, you guys that are in other areas of the country won't know this, but there's a company called Bojangles, which is a chicken kind of place. And Bojangles was a big volunteer group, not volunteer group, but a big sponsor for the Chamber of Commerce. And so they put together boxes and boxes and boxes of chicken biscuits and sausage biscuits and all kinds of stuff. And we carried it in with orange juice and coffee. And when they came in the room, they had breakfast right there when they walked in. And they knew they were going to get breakfast. It was kind of part of it. You know, they didn't have to worry about they're getting out of the house early, 7:30 in the morning. They get out of the house early. They're skipping breakfast because they're going to get some breakfast at the meeting. And they want to enjoy the meeting. And we want to make it an enjoyable atmosphere. So we did that. You can also help them find the very best types of facilities to meet in. And that, gosh, in the process of 2 years of making a program actually run smoothly, We went to various types of locations until we actually linked up with a local junior college. And that junior college gave us their space to use, gave us the projecting systems, everything they had, they allowed us to use at no charge because they wanted to help out the Chamber of Commerce as a local junior college. But you can do that with a large church because many large churches have those kind of things. Even large companies have meeting rooms that have projection capabilities and screens and whiteboards and all kinds of things like that. So you don't have to worry about providing that. But one of your jobs on the committee as a volunteer is to find maybe a better facility than they're using. That's one of your jobs that you can do. Also in the process, if you get down to it, one of the best things you can do is get a decent video camera and some wireless mics. And every session you want to videotape it because these are sessions that the guest speakers are coming in, and of course they've been asked well in advance to do it. So they've done a lot of preparation. I never saw one that wasn't prepared that came in because they knew that they were in front of their peers. They were giving a presentation about something they were an expert in front of their peers, and they wanted to do it right. So we got it on tape. I got it on tape. And in the process, I had a camera set up at the back of the room, had the wireless mic hooked up. And by the way, those are not expensive, guys. I mean, you can afford to do this. This is not an expensive situation. It's just something most people don't have. But if you're a digital marketer, you should have this equipment. So did the video, put it up on the Chamber's website, evergreen. So it means it's always there. And I've got it written here, but I laughingly say, and guess whose name showed up on the outro at the end of the video? My company name showed up right there. Every time anybody watched it, they saw my name. And so there we go, constant advertising, but evergreen advertising. It never gets old. It never goes off. It's always there for people to see. And you can then help with marketing the event itself. After all, you're a marketing company. Don't you think you can go in and help bring more people into an event like this through your techniques and your capabilities? Of course you can. If you just offered that service, you would stand out. We also had a chance to get sponsors for these events. I think I'll mention this later in the program here. But those sponsors then paid for a lot of the things we had. If we had any expenses at all, they were covered. And our sponsors were absolutely, without a doubt, I never approached a sponsor for the educational program that turned me down because they understood the importance of it. And they wanted their company name attached to it. And each time we'd put their name up in the front of the room on the billboards and or just like sandwich boards and things like that. So their name was up front around where the speaker was so that people could see it during the entire presentation. And of course, position yourself so that as to be one of the guest speakers sometime during the year. Don't do a lunch and learn. Get in front of a group. And our average attendance was anywhere from 50 to 75. And I'm serious. It was people really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. I never ceased to hear people thank me for putting on these presentations and putting together this program. Never, ever ceased. Nobody ever complained about anything that was going on. That's unusual, folks, okay? That's a unique experience for anybody that's in business. And guess what? They knew my name, they knew my company, they knew what I did, and I was visible. So why do this at all? People say, gosh, look at all the time it's going to take. Oh, look at all the effort it's going to take. Well, would you rather just sit at home in your home office? Would you rather just kind of walk around the streets and say, well, gee, I wish I could contact somebody? I mean, so why do all this? Because you build your company, guys. That's why you do all this. It's so worth it. It's so cotton picking worth it. And it becomes visibility. All right. You're always top of mind. You're in front of the people. You become an expert in your area because here you are as a marketing person presenting training to the entire business base in the community, which then brings you, of course, influence. Why wouldn't you want that? And then, of course, as I will never stop saying, you're working from the inside out, from the inside of the chamber to the out. In other words, you're not coming in as a salesperson. You're coming in to benefit the Chamber of Commerce, and you will benefit from that in many, many different ways. So, these meetings are all fun. Actually, they get to be a lot of fun. Uh, I can't, the number of times we actually got joking with each other and had the crowd laughing, especially the speakers. Some of the speakers were really clever, and they went away with smiles on their faces, not just some boring stuff. What did we teach? Well, heck, we taught retail sales. We had one insurance guy who was very much an independent sales insurance agent. And he came in, and you may think it's boring, but this is very much of interest to small business people. He talked about business insurance and why it's necessary, why you should have it, what are your risks if you don't have it. And that was a well-attended series. When I did anything about the social media or just digital marketing, yes, I gave my own presentation. And I've mentioned this before, but I had a whole presentation around the idea of avoiding random acts of marketing. And I use that a lot, but I had an entire presentation around that, which went for an hour, and just told people about, be careful of the guy walking in the door. Be careful of not having a strategic plan for your business. Don't just spend money here and there with the next guy that walks in the door. Much like we do as digital marketers, we just spend money on the next shiny object. And what I was trying to tell them is, don't spend money on the next shining object, which is the next guy that walks in the door with the most perfect ad or the directory or this or that. And gosh, you just give me $80, $150 a month, and I'll make sure you get exposed to 4,000 or 5,000 people in the community or more, whoever. It's just not. It's not a strategic plan. Your job as a digital marketer is to give them a strategic plan of action. That is your true job. You don't go in and sell them your products. You go in and sell them solutions. What are the solutions? Certainly that's what you have to offer, but you have to make sure it's what they need, not what you want to sell them. That's your real job as a digital marketing agency, local agency. Period. End of story on that one. Now, if they don't have an educational program for the chamber, then it puts it into a different situation. You're now kind of in the driver's seat, so to speak, and you're in control. You want to go to the chamber president and volunteer to set up an entire educational program. Offer your services as a committee chairman. Now, wow, you want to talk about influence. So, I'd like to be a committee chairman and put this whole thing together. And you set up your committee. You may have people that you already know, or the chamber may say, well, I'd like to have this and this and this person on the committee. And you do want some very influential people on the committee, because they will help you select the right people to go to, the right people to have as guest speakers. But you are then the captain of the ship. You're going to make sure everything happens right. And you're going to do the same things I showed in the past slide. And that was, you're going to look for locations. You're going to set up the speakers, usually about 3 months in advance. In this place, I would say you make an overview or an outline of everything you need. The proper meeting place. Arranging for guest speakers at least 3 months in advance. Getting sponsors for the event. Arranging for the recording of each session. And those are the things that bring stability to your plan to help the chamber. And if they don't have an educational program, you need to understand that is actually also one of their, not dogmas, but one of their, what do they call it, Rick? One of their directives as a Chamber of Commerce is to train the community and to train the business owners to do and have a better business. Now, any chamber that says, I don't want an educational and training series, is not a chamber you want to be a part of. I'm just telling you that for right now, because if they don't find value in that, they can't find value in anything. So training is important. Now, this will set you apart from other chamber members, because why? You're engaged. You're supporting the chamber's primary goal. That's what I was term I was searching for earlier. And you're constantly in front of the business community. Who doesn't want that? As a small local business, don't you always want to be out there? You get to pick the guest speakers, and in turn, you get to know them personally because you're honoring them with selecting them as a guest speaker. You're saying you're an expert in your area. We want you to share your expertise with us. Now, what does that say? That makes a friend almost automatically with that person. You're a friend with them right then, as soon as you give them that kind of compliment and that kind of notoriety. And of course, if possible, provide a training video for a permanent record on the chamber website. Your influence will continue to grow and grow and grow. This is a full year's process. Once a month for a year, continuing forward. I ran mine for three years before I turned the chairmanship over to someone else. But I knew it was solid, and they could carry it on and continue on what we had already developed, and I was very comfortable with that myself, and it was a great experience. And yes, it takes time, but goodness gracious, best time you'll ever spend to grow your influence, that of your business and your reputation and as an authority. I mean, I can't even think of any other terms to put it or any other way to say it, for goodness sakes. You are the person. You are the dude, so to speak, in the community. If you're bringing them training and they're learning from the training and they know it's coming from you initially, or not initially, but primarily from you, then they're going to have to think very, very highly of you and your company. So here we go. I know that we got 7 folks on board right now, which is not too bad. So I'm going to open it up and say, okay, ask me anything you want to. Go for it.
Hey, Christopher. So how much time are we talking about per week, say, just on an average? Do you have any estimate, a good estimate of how long it's going to take?
Oh, sure. You've got in the initial stages of the first month in setting it up, you're probably going to spend 5 hours a day doing this. No, that's an exaggeration, of course. You're going to spend a couple of hours a day setting it up that you have to dedicate to finding a facility, getting the speakers lined up, making sure you've got if you don't even have to do the fast food thing that I mentioned, but it certainly helps. But just to get it started in the original session, you just need to make sure you have the speaker set up and the proper facility, and to make sure it's being promoted. Those are the 3 major things you do to start. And then all the other things I've mentioned, you can add along the way. So it's not rocket science, guys. It's just bringing training to the masses, so to speak. Any other questions? Did that answer your question, Devin?
Yeah. And how many or how many days a week, not how many days, but how many weeks would you just suggest? Like maybe one time a month or, quarterly? What would be a good?
Once a month. Once a month, and make it early morning. I mentioned 7:30 to 8:30, which gives all the bankers time to get to the bank and things like that to open up. Usually either that 7:30 to 8:30 or 7 to 8, but we did 7:30 to 8:30 because most people had plenty of time to get to their office and open up their shop and things like that by 9 o'clock. So it worked out fine from 7:30 to 8:30, and we were very careful about keeping it right on time because of understanding their need to get out the door, but still participate in the event. That doesn't mean we didn't have people just stay for 30 minutes and have to go, but they were there. But once a month. What else we got? Give me some more questions, guys. Yep. You waving? Okay.
Peter, raising my hand. I like the picture.
Hey, Peter.
So I'm having trouble wrapping my head around how to present this differently than, for example, a lunch and learn. I mean, the theory behind a lunch and learn is that you're learning something that you can use in your business, uh, uh, which sounds a lot like what you're suggesting through this concept, and I'm just not sure on how to think about it differently with the questions that might be asked when we're bringing it up, etc.
Okay, a lunch and learn has the, to me now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it has the term, it has the feeling of a short-term situation, a one-time event, or maybe a two-time event. What we're talking about is an entire educational series set over 12 months. It's not like a lunch and learn where you have, well, I guess you could do lunch and learn the same way, but I'm not sure that.
Okay, so let me clarify my misunderstanding then. So when you say you have an educational series versus a lunch and learn that's one at a time, I guess I'm having trouble understanding unless it's the same subject in 12 kind of accumulative chapters versus different industries. I'm not sure how
Okay, you may.
How is it a series versus a lunch and learn? I don't
Okay,
understand that.
I got
it sounds great in theory, but
well, you may have come in after after we spoke on that. So
but yeah,
basically,
possibly.
what we had was the fact that in our guest speakers, we selected people from all types of industries in the town, uh, from people that knew retail well, or somebody that had maybe recently opened a shop and had great ideas on how to have your openings. We had a sign guy who did great signage and was one of the most popular signage guys in town. And he came in and talked about how to use signage best in their business. We had people that had business insurance. I mentioned a local person that did business insurance. When I did digital marketing, I did give a personal presentation, but I also realized that I had competition in the area, and the way I handled that was not to give them their own spot because I didn't want them to have their own spot. I wanted to have that spot. But what I did was I set up a panel, and I invited two other competitors in. There were three of us on the panel, and we handed out sheets of paper for people to write questions as soon as they came in the door. And then a moderator would ask the questions to the panel as we went through and answered questions about how to use digital marketing in your business. And so I invited my competitors in to do that with me. It was easy enough. I didn't care. What the heck?
so so is it fair to say that the difference is the lunch and learn is about learning about someone's service, and this series is more about teaching skills that all business owners can use?
Peter, you hit it right on the head right there.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
They're not talking about their business when a guest speaker does not come in and sell his insurance company. He comes
Right.
and talks about how insurance will help your business.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, is there? Do you happen to have, or are you able to make suggestions on how we can kind of come up with these ideas? Because I can imagine, for myself at least, that if I go and I talk to the chamber people and they agree to do it, that I could find myself in a world of 12 hours a day for 3 solid weeks, and at the end of it, I still have no idea what I'm going to do as far as ideas.
Well, actually, you know what? Probably that's an excellent point, Peter. Because that really means I probably should just draw up a complete outline. I've done it, just in parts and pieces here on the presentation. But I'll go ahead. I'll draw up a complete outline on how to do it. And in the next slide right here is where I say very simply, I'm always available to work with anyone who's approaching the local chamber and has questions on how to best do this. Since I've done it and did it for 3 years, I pretty much worked out a lot of the bugs. I know what not to do, but I know a lot of what to do as well. So if anybody wants to approach this technique, all you got to do is get in touch, or I will go ahead and send them an outline on more appropriately how to approach it. Is
Yeah,
else?
that would be extremely helpful. Absolutely. You know, part of the ingredient of being one of those people that buy a lot of things that I never actually use is that if we're forced to guess based on general ideas, it'll end up in that same category. So I just want to make sure that you know, we do that. I was inspired to actually send out an invitation to speak with a business development of a chamber I don't belong to yet. And I was trying to think of how to mention this. And in the end, I sent the email without mentioning it because I had no idea what to say.
I got you. Well, it is a strong topic. If you notice that they do not have a training program, and you even bring it up that I can put one together for you, and I would happy to chair a committee, and that's what you say. I'd be happy to chair a committee to put it together. You don't say I'm just going to put it together. You say I'm going to chair a committee to bring it together. That's what the chamber presidents want to hear, is we want to put a committee together, because they love putting committees together, right? And
Yeah.
I've got several other committees that I actually put together myself that we're going to talk about as we move through this training session on chambers of commerce. And each time I actually developed it from dust, so to speak. You know, it's kind of like here's the concept. If you'd like me to do it, you know, I'll be the chairman, and I'll either pick some of the people to be on my committee, or you can throw a couple of people on that you think would be really good for this, and we'll all work together. And of course, you don't have to do all the work. I go back on Devin's question. You know, yeah, you say, well, you know, this is going to take a lot of time. Well, guess what? You're going to have committee people working with you, and your job is to delegate, guys. Delegate. I'm sorry I didn't mention that earlier, because as far as taking time, yes, you've got to have the information and the ideas, but one of your major job is to delegate responsibility as a committee chairman. So.
And one quick comment, you mentioned earlier, this is kind of a great way to get to meet people. I did manage to put together a particular event once before for a chamber type group. And I have to tell you, for the 3 years I was involved before putting together that event, I met more people organizing that event than I did in the previous 3 years.
That's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Just a chance to reach out to people and say, hey, you know, if you're interested in you know, renting a table or, you know, et cetera, and you get to interact with them, and they love telling you what they do. That's
yeah. All you have to do is ask one question and just sit back and listen. Yeah.
So I really like this idea, and I, for one, am certainly going to try to do this.
Well,
thank you,
Peter. Thank you for your input there. I really appreciate it. And I noticed down here we have Pat on. Pat, do you want to ask any questions? Pat, you're unmuted. Do you want to ask any questions, Pat? Okay. All right. Well, any other questions, guys? If not, we'll move on.
Just want to ask a question, just to, you know, reconfirm what you said, sort of a recap. So you're proposing and putting together this training program, that it's not just what you want to train from your services, but bring in other member services specifically on a non-selling pitch.
Exactly.
To explain the benefit of, you know, life insurance, health insurance, or why you should think about coming to a chiropractor. What will it do for you? Non-selling, but not just focusing on what you're offering, correct?
Yes, and almost always we make it business oriented. We never had practitioners or chiropractors or anybody like that in, because it wasn't appropriate. Ours was always focused strictly on business, how to run your business better in whatever way it might be, because the chamber is not about medical stuff and things.
But you might be dominating, you know, those 12 once a month series. You might be dominating it because you're focused on how to help a business grow as opposed to anybody else in the chamber.
Well,
Correct?
you certainly your committee that you have,
Right.
they're going to make suggestions themselves. They're going to say, well, I think I'd like to learn this, or I'd like to learn that, or I know somebody that's really good at this and
Mhm.
could do a good job for us. So you don't even have to come up with all the ideas once you
Right.
have a committee together.
Okay.
And that's the fun of in the chamber. There's nothing more fun than being part of a committee in a chamber, and I mean that sincerely.
Mhm.
You meet for this kind of program. You meet maybe once a month, and you assign the duties and the tasks, and they check in with you,
Okay.
and things just roll on. So,
And the end result, this is going to be Christopher's program with Christopher's branding on whatever you do,
well, I can't.
if possible. If
Yeah,
possible.
yeah. Where and when possible. And of course, now in the front for the signage on sponsorship, because I had come up with the idea,
Right.
I didn't have to pay for that sponsorship. My logo was up there all the time.
Right.
And when we finished the videos, of course, my logo is at the end and the outro of the video.
Right.
And anytime we put an announcement or an upcoming, we'd always announce it in the newsletter. The first of the month newsletter, we'd announce the training event for that month. And anytime I could, I was always try to find a way to put my logo in there, but that doesn't always happen. That's
Right. And this would be live and then a video backup of it for those that couldn't make it.
That's correct. Just like this is right now.
Yeah.
It's, the people couldn't come live today for whatever reason, but they've got the opportunity to go back and look at it. And if you
Right.
build over a year's time or 2 years, and this had 3 years, we had 36, 40 videos that anybody could look at the topics and the titles and look back on, because a lot of this information is evergreen. Some
Right.
of it changes with time, due to technology and things, but a lot of the information is evergreen. And so they had a chance to go through an entire library of video training on the chamber website.
Great. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? What are we doing here on time? Let's see. I've kind of rushed through this. We've had one of the shortest events since the first one. Maybe that's good. I don't know. All right. So everybody that's attended, thank you very much.
Christopher, I had one other question real quick.
Sure.
If there is any kind of cost involved, is that, since you're initiating the training program,
Yep.
do you feel like that's a cost that you would be absorbing? You had mentioned Bojangles and refreshments and things like that. Is that something that you feel like you foot the bill for, or you let the chamber know that they're going to be footing the bill for the refreshments at their training program?
First of all, I was never out a dime, and the chamber was never out a dime, because we got 3 or 4 corporate sponsors for the event and charged them just enough to know that we're covering all the expenses that were necessary. Now, and those I mentioned earlier in this, I never had anyone turn me down when I asked them to sponsor the training series, because they didn't understand the importance of it. And they knew that they're going to have 50 people, at least 60 people. And they're mentioned, of course, in the newsletter when we put out the training. The sponsors would be logoed there. Yes. Okay. So they got some exposure there, but it wasn't that expensive. We'd probably charge $250, $300 for a sponsorship and get like 4 or 5 people. And, you have $1,500 to pay for Bojangles and everything else you wanted to do. In our case, Bojangles gave it to us. They were just that kind of sponsor for the chamber. But if you had to pay for it, big deal. If you got $2,000 for the year to cover any kind of expenses. And of course, the college never charged us to use their facilities. We never got charged for anything, basically, except maybe the refreshments and things. So, but no, you would never be out a dime to do this. Period. And that is unusual, isn't it, guys?
Yes.
It doesn't cost you a dime to get 12 months of exposure. And I don't know how you get that any other way, guys. I have no idea. So, all right. What else? Any other points of contention or into the comments?
Christopher, I got a question. So from a direct result of this, what was like your business? Like, how did your business grow because of this event?
Well, very, very simply, it turned my business into one that I had to advertise, into one that I got just simply grew through referrals. After the first couple of years and some of these techniques I'm demonstrating, I never advertised ever. I had a sustained, constant business through referrals, and that's what this does. And I was always proud that somebody would. I'll give you a prime example. Local newspaper had never had a website, and it's one of these local newspapers that's been around 100 years. It's one of the few that's still in existence, kind of thing. And they had to get a website because they were publishing the debt notices, things of foreclosures and things like that. And the company that provided them that information said, we can't keep providing that to you if you don't have an online presence. So that's what keyed them. Well, one day I got a call from the guy that owned the newspaper. And he said, Chris, he says, we got a situation I need your help with. I said, okay. He said, can you meet with me on, this afternoon? And of course, newspaper guy, sure, I'll be there. So I walked in, he said, here's the deal. We're about to get shut off from this major income source for us, and we've got to have a website. But we have to have a website that also draws in Dow Jones reports, the weather reports, everything else. This is one of those sites which had links to at least 6 different types of outside sources. And it was not a simple website to put together. This is not your normal website, okay? And I went, okay, let's see how I'm going to do this. And that call came in that day, and I made over $8,000 that day from that one referral. That's how that's how powerful this stuff is, guys.
Cool.
All right, guys. Thanks for attending. I appreciate it. We'll jump off, and I'll hope to see you all next week. I'm going to have another guest speaker next week, which I will announce very soon. So all of you have a great day, and we will talk.
Great session, Christopher. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care, everybody.
You bet. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.